Ms. Ray. One present.
Thank you. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jim, please read the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law statement.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, Montville County Board of Education approved this meeting date. Notice of the meetings are posted at the municipal building, on Montville Public Schools, the Montville Public Library, the Montville County Board of Education Administrative Office Building, the Montville Public School website, and advertised in the Daily Record.
Thank you, Jim. We'll move right now to Superintendent's report. And this evening, we have sitting in for Dr. Freed, Andrea Salvaggi, our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction.
Good evening, everyone. As part of the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights law, or act rather, every school in the district is supposed to do a self-assessment. And the school safety teams are the ones that are supposed to do that. The district self-assessments must be summarized for the public, who may then comment on them afterwards. And once the superintendent has publicly summarized, so that will be made tonight, the self-assessment must be board approved, and it must be board approved before the district is allowed to input that to the commissioner. From there, the commissioner will assign a grade for each school in the district, and then we must post that grade on our website within 10 days of receipt from the New Jersey Department of Education. Once these grades are assigned and posted, the Board of Education at a public meeting will review the grades, and then the superintendent will sign off on a statement of assurance that we proceeded with all the appropriate steps. So the self-assessment covers 8 core elements indicated in the law, and the school safety team must rate themselves on a 4-point scale. 0 meaning that they did not meet any of the requirements under the law, up to 3, which exceeds all requirements. 1 is partial completion of the requirements, and 2 is meets all requirements. So the highest total score a school can rate themselves as is 75. Okay, so it's a total of 75 points. Before they go through this process, the school safety teams, they get comprehensive directions and guidance from the New Jersey Department of Education. So what the board has, and just a paper version of the self-assessments, are just what they came up with. They had far more guidance to that beforehand. So some of the elements that go into this rating are the HIB programs, approaches, or other initiatives. That's core element number 1. And basically that asks, did the school annually establish, implement, document, and assess the HIB programs and initiatives that each school set forth? These programs were supposed to cover school-wide conditions to prevent and address harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And the school safety team was supposed to identify patterns of HIB in the schools and then decide on policies to prevent that. They were also supposed to review school climate to see if that had a factor and lent itself to any of these HIB investigations that went on in each school. Core element 2 was training on the board approved HIB policy. And that was all people who come in contact with our children. So those are school employees, contracted service workers, and also volunteers in our schools. Everybody had to be trained on the HIB policy, and they also had to be trained on those protected categories and distinguishing characteristics that are such an essential part of this Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights Act. And also the HIB policy must be discussed with all the children in every school as it is appropriate to their age. Core element 3 talks about other staff instruction and training programs. This is a little bit more detailed with who the individuals are. The anti-bullying specialist, the school safety team members, and the school leaders all need to be informed on how to prevent HIB in their schools, and this has to be included in the suicide prevention training that all staff members get, and also instruction on HIB prevention. Those are 2 hours of training that need to occur within a 5-year cycle. Core element 4 asks schools to include in their curriculum and in their instruction information on HIB and the prevention of HIB in their schools. Also looking at discrimination, and one of the big factors in this element is the week of respect. Did our students involve themselves in the week of respect, and how many activities did we do? Core element number 5 is HIB personnel. Was everybody trained? Did everybody meet with the anti-bullying coordinator as was appropriate under the law? Core element 6 was school level HIB incident reporting procedures. Did we follow the law when it came to reporting all incidents of HIB? And part of that is, did we do it in a timely fashion? Did we do it within the 10 days? Get it to the appropriate people at central office? Did the board approve it? And the hearings, was all of that correct? And then that also covers core element number 7. And then core element number 8 is the HIB reporting. And did everybody know their rights and how they were supposed to verbally and in writing report incidents of HIB, as well as violence and vandalism? So, after they reviewed all of these, they gave themselves a rating, and the following is what we came out with. Montville Township High School received 64 out of a possible 75. Lazar Middle School received 73 out of 75. Cedar Hill, 70 out of 75. Hilldale, 69 out of 75. Valley View, 71 out of 75. On their self-assessment, they miscalculated, but William Mason was also 70 out of 75, not the 73 that are on your sheets. And Woodmont was 70 out of 75. There were 3 general areas where they did not rate themselves to exceed expectations, but only to meet expectations, which brought some of these numbers down a little bit. And those were HIB programs, approaches, or other initiatives. They felt that they wanted to create more school-wide programs and to look at school culture a little bit more closely to address incidents of HIB. The second area was in the area of training and professional development for the staff and the teams. Some of the schools did not do enough with the volunteers and making sure that they were trained correctly. And the last area was under curriculum and instruction. They felt that they met the requirements, but they did not exceed expectations, and they would prefer to do a little bit more going forward. But I think overall, we did well for this first go-round with these grading system, and now it's open for public comment. If you want to do that.
Sure. I'll open up the board first. Does the board have any comments or questions about the report or comments about the report? Carmela, Jackie?
I have a couple of questions about whether or not the district is supposed to act upon. I know that these are self-assessments, but in other words, in areas where a school administrator was candid and said, we partially met requirements, they gave themselves a 1, are we required to act upon that and see that issue improves? Like an action plan, and if we're not required to do it, are we going to do it nonetheless? Is there something?
I think I can speak for the superintendent in saying that whether the commissioner and based on our grading It might be tiered to be, if you get below a certain rating, you must do an action plan. But even if we're not required to do one, we would actually look at this. We would want to have conversations with the district anti-bullying coordinator and make sure that those ones are definitely made into 2s and 3s for the following year.
Thank you.
Jackie, do you have a question?
Well, yeah, just Mike.
Just as a follow-up, because the 3 at the high school, where they gave themselves 1, I know that we're going to be discussing school culture in the future in the following year. So I understand C, if that's what you meant by going forward with the discussions of school culture. But I didn't, in the core element number 2, see the HIV policy was discussed with students in accordance with the district's process for these discussions. I mean, I know we discussed on several occasions, were there discussions with the students. So I'm surprised that they gave themselves a 1.
The new freshman seminar class did a lot with this. I think the school safety team looked at overall, did we do enough at our upper levels? And did we do enough within the curriculum to really move this forward and have discussions that are just go beyond the minimum?
Okay, so that ties into the core element number 4, the curriculum, where they also gave themselves a 1.
Yes.
Because it's interesting for me that the high school had given themselves 1 in those areas, and I think the middle school gave themselves a 1, but really the elementary schools felt that they had, the support that they needed, and that they had done. Perhaps it's because the school is smaller, it was easier to.
We also have very well-formed character education programs at the elementary, and they do so much with those programs, and the guidance counselors do weekly lessons. So there is weekly discussions about harassment, intimidation, bullying, discrimination, how you treat one another. So I think that also lends itself to them exceeding expectations.
I would just add that any self-assessment I think you have to take with somewhat of a grain of salt. I would not want to see anybody penalized for being candid in their deficiencies, because by the same token, it's very easy for everyone to just say 333 were wonderful. And so, just following on the flip side of what Carmela said, if we're going to be looking at the areas where we score lowly, is there also going to be verification that these 3s are in fact 3s and not people just patting themselves on the back?
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we are going to open it up to the public for any comment, questions. Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Andrea. Business Administrator's report.
Thank you, Dr. Marino. Just want to brief the board on our progress on status update where we are with summer construction projects. At this point, all of our major projects have now been awarded and are on their way. Most of the projects we're looking at substantial completion by the end of August. This also includes, in addition to facility projects, some technology initiatives as well. There will be a delay with 1 or 2 of our projects at the high school, and myself, the superintendent, along with the high school administration, will be putting out public communication on those projects. One of the projects that really hasn't been well reported on, wasn't really a part of the actual push to get the major projects through, was an initiative to put air conditioning in some of the classrooms at 6 of the school district buildings, all the elementaries and middle school. We've had several meetings on this initiative, and the PTAs have actually gotten together and contributed, have pledged to contribute a significant amount of money towards this initiative. The district had budgeted $125,000. And the PTAs as a group are going to be contributing another $158,000 towards this initiative. It's going to allow us to air condition significantly more classrooms. So I'm happy to report we sent we finalized the analysis last week, and we've now sent it off to our installer. We're waiting back for those final numbers, and hopefully we can squeak in even an additional classroom or two. Then I'll be meeting with the PTAs to firm things up on the ordering and the dates of construction and things of that nature. And then any questions on the facility project?
Just, you said you finalized the analysis and sent it off to.
Our installer, cooperative purchasing installer. There's actually two phases of purchasing of the equipment and then the installation. Just one other item I just need to report on real quick is I would like to pull resolution J.4 from this evening's agenda for consideration. It's a contract issue that I'm still execution of from the party, so I'd like to have that pulled. And that is my report for this evening. Yes, administration.
Any questions for Jim? So these projects. Any committee reports?
Finance is not met, but we will be meeting in the next couple of weeks. Jim, if you please reach out to the committee and myself. Contact them.
Yes, sir.
It's Matt.
Sir.
Jackie.
Any other committee meetings? Any delegate liaison reports? I think last week, Charlie, you reported on the MTAA, which is on the
Okay, we
agenda
approved
tonight.
the memorandum of agreement, now we're approving the contract.
Would anyone from the public like to comment on the item on the agenda? In that case, motion item O, except J4. Charlie, Jackie, any discussion on the minutes? Any discussion on J, which includes the statue that was donated to the high school? I know, it's cool, it's great. Any more discussion? JK, anything on K? JK, anything on L? Anything else? M? L? L? Yes? Okay, M, anything on M? Okay, N, policy, and O. Roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Richel?
Yes.
Mr. Mascaro?
Yes.
Ms. Novi?
Yes.
Mr. Pond?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Dr. Portolino?
Yes.
Motion is passed.
Thank you, Jim. No business, no additional reports. I put under general board comments, the proposal that we sent to workshop 2013 to the New York School Board Association on an effective board was accepted. But it's scheduled for Thursday between 10 and 11:30, which is, so, who can make it on Thursday between 10 and 11:30?
What's the date in October?
It's
October 24th.
4. Charlie, you're a yes for that day?
I'll be there.
Okay. Anyone else? Jackie? Yes, I'll be there. Jackie? Yes. Tom? Yes. Okay. Yes. Jackie, Mike?
Yeah, if I put in for it now, I should be.
Yay! Good. Right on the same.
Where is this?
Like Charlie.
Where is this, Karen?
Yes.
We got this workshop now
Okay.
I'm going to send an email out to the entire board requesting you to respond to me with your anticipated nights again. You just reply when you get a chance.
Okay,
I
excellent.
expect to be down there, but not Thursday night. I'll be there other days.
Ooh, she's mean.
Originally, yes, but when the New Jersey School Boards Association scheduled on a day when I had to work, I can't make it on Christmas.
I think you still got this.
Especially when it's 3 months from now.
Thursdays are tough.
Okay, so this is good. Then we're good.
I think
We
the next
should
meeting
meet.
was changed to the 27th, I don't know, people out there, 20th.
The August meeting you're talking about?
No, board meeting.
Yeah, the August board meeting.
Yeah. Okay, I'll open it up to the public.
I have a general board comment.
Yes.
Doug, I wanted to ask you a question. Do you happen to know off the top of your head what the superintendent's salary cap as a district our size paying a superintendent if we, under the superintendent's salary cap?
No.
175.
67.
I'm sorry?
For the district outside?
Yes.
One high school, 167.
167.5. So,
65 plus 25.
right. So I just wanted to make this point because the superintendent's salary cap to me is, and I'll go on record and state to my fellow board members and anybody in the public that I think it's just an obscenity and it's really unfair towards superintendents to select just superintendents and cap their salaries in lieu of the fact that if you look at some of the numbers that we just approved, and I'm not saying that individuals who work for our district in various positions don't work really hard, but there are some numbers that are approaching what a superintendent would make. And I just personally find it offensive that the governor can come up with an edict like this, limit the salary of our superintendent, whose role is more encompassing than any other role in the district, bar none. So I just wanted to lodge my feelings about that superintendent's salary cap and how it relates to the salaries within the entire state, because there are many districts now that are getting to the point where other administrators, principals, who have the responsibility, and again, this is not to demean their responsibility, they have a very important job at the school level. But I don't think anyone can take away from the fact that the superintendent's job is the entire district. It's much more encompassing, it's much broader in scope, and therefore the compensation might be broader and larger as well. Thank you.
Well, just to piggyback on that, Matt, and thank you for saying that. That was very well said, and I agree with you. The state of New Jersey spends $9 billion on education, and it's anticipated that the superintendent's salary cap will save the entire state of New Jersey about $9 million. So that comes to pennies per person. And districts that are seeking to replace superintendents who are either retiring prematurely or leaving are finding that the pool for experienced superintendents is thin. And what we're seeing are less experienced administrators, I won't call them superintendents, less experienced administrators are rising to become superintendents. And that, it'll probably create an insidious decline in the quality of education. Not that these administrators are not quality people, but they don't have the experience to manage a $65 million budget, for example, and all the personnel issues that go along with that and the policy issues. So
the organizational skills, the communication skills. Sadly, there are very few in school districts, few members of the public that really understand what goes into being a top-flight superintendent. And I guess you feel the same way, Karen, that should be remunerated and compensated in a certain fashion.
right, and there are a number of boards of education, probably numbering up to 40, that have passed resolutions in one form or another that basically reiterates what we've talked about tonight and asking the governor to reconsider the cap, to at least make it more flexible, to consider there's no cost of living increase allotment, there's no experience allotment, there's no regional differences. It's more expensive to live in the north than it is in the south, so there are no regional differences. So to at least give us a little bit more flexibility, which we don't have right now.
Yeah, and another point is that every neighboring state has higher compensations for superintendents, not just by a small amount, but by 20 or 30%.
This-
So we're seeing a tremendous amount of superintendents, quality superintendents leave the state. That's something that's already happened.
The state of New York considered a cap, but rejected it.
I also, and I agree with both you, Karen, and that, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I think it's something we need to continue to discuss. I know we have discussed this once before, but in thinking about it, when we talk about how much our principals and other administrators can make within our district, there will come a time, it appears to me, that these people will not want to move up into the superintendent's position because they have more flexibility in their financial growth in other ways. So that will be a huge factor at the top. Also, and I know I've said this before, we already work under a 2% cap. So for them then to, the government and Christie and whoever it is else, or then to dictate how we spend that money within the cap, I find issue. And lastly, from what I understand, that maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the law sunsets, or this act sunsets in 2014. 2016?
2016, and they're in the process of already talking about regulations for parts of the Accountability Act.
For what?
Portions of the Accountability Act, they're already discussing amendments. The cap is not currently on the table.
So I urge if anyone out there is listening to us, I urge you to, contact your assemblyman, your senators, say that you also have an issue with this, that they really have, we understood the 2% cap, but there has to be a point when they let Board of Education do what they need to do with the money that they have. So if you feel up to it, you should say something.
And it's not just the 2% cap, but every budget has a line item cap for administrative salaries. So we can't exceed a 4% increase there. So it's a cap within a cap within a cap. And there are districts already where principals are making more than the superintendent. Not our districts, but others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with everything that's been said. When I was in the Army, one of the things that was said was, tell me what to do, don't tell me how to do it. I kind of feel the same right here. Tell us what we can spend, don't tell us how we can spend it. And I just think it's the utter height of hypocrisy that we have a governor who belongs to the Republican Party, the party which for generations has always prided itself on saying that the economy will take care of itself if you let the laws of the marketplace and free competition govern. Then he turns around and puts caps on somebody's salary. And there's a lot of people out there that are in favor of them, and I always say to these people, that's fine, everyone's in favor of capping salaries as long as it's not theirs.
I have a comment.
And we're saying this on a night when the superintendent's not even here.
I have a comment on this because it's a particular issue that sticks in my craw all the time. I think if we believe in democracy, we need to believe that our neighbors will elect the people that they believe should represent them and make those decisions. So I'm not quite sure I've ever understood the notion of being dictated to by Trenton on this particular issue and some others. Why I'm being told as a taxpayer and a volunteer servant on this board how my neighbors and I should apportion our funds, which is basically what everyone has said. But from just the democratic the process of how this smacks in the face of letting people choose their local representatives. I'm not sure that I've seen or heard of a similar cap on other governing bodies, on their salaries, for administrators that, I mean, our superintendent administers a $64 million budget, a staff of 500, and he's responsible for 7 facilities. I just don't understand where that comes from, why we should necessarily be constrained to compensate in the same way in a different school district, which for some purposes may look the same, but they never really truly are. So please contact your legislators and let them know how you feel. They're on Route 10, their office. Right in that.
Okay, I guess we need to get that over our chest. Thank you for bringing it up, Matt. I'll open it up now to public participation for anything not on the agenda. On the agenda, please come up. Mike's right here. Just state your name and where you live.
Bill Spellman, and I live in Tulaca. Actually, kind of 2 questions. First being just with regards to the topic that you're talking about now, and if you do want participation, would the board be able to then draft a letter with some type of ideas for then residents to copy, or, does it have to be from a resident's perspective that, we would have to write it ourselves? Is there a draft, ideas that you can provide us with, or the actual amendment that the governor signed, because I was not aware of that.
We did pass a resolution that has the salient points, and that's a public document.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so use that. Actually, just to further your comment, I find it funny how we can pay the captain, not the captain, but the coach of the Rutgers football team, the most amount of money, because that's deemed to be free market.
Yeah, what's interesting too is superintendents of charter schools don't fall under the cap.
Interesting. And also too, I do apologize for coming in late. I actually thought that this was an 8 o'clock meeting. I had heard that there was a resolution with regards to the aides in the school district. And I was just wondering if you could comment on that.
You don't mean a resolution on our agenda.
No. There was a resolution just with the
Yes.
aides in the school district.
Yes.
I don't know if you spoke about that earlier. So
We did not, but there was a meeting held in late June between the board's negotiating committee and the negotiating committee of the MTEA. And the board is restoring the hours of the paraprofessionals and will allow those that need to purchase health insurance, they can purchase it. It'll be at 100% of their expense. But it basically reinstates all of the provisions of the agreed contract.
Okay. So the children who are deemed qualified for aides will get it.
And they'll have their hours, the paraprofessionals' hours are being restored.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, thank you.
You mean at 7:30?
We, and to that point, I'm sorry I didn't address that. We normally do meet at 8. We decided as a board late in the spring, I guess, that, or maybe sooner than that, that we would begin our meetings at 7:30 for the benefit of the children and the public. So unfortunately, there was a miscommunication between town hall and
Yeah,
it's on our-
on the
yeah,
side it said right
we'll
here.
take care of
Oh,
that. So
Thank
7:30.
thank you.
Sure.
7:30 from now on for all meetings, correct?
7:30 from now on for all public meetings. Anyone else? Okay, and motion
Will we adjourn?
to adjourn.
Move. Go.